we put in sort of these safeguards, right? As we're growing, as we're navigating life. And if we don't have somebody that's really able to help us wade through those places, we find out that as we become adults, that part of us still needs tending to. We've all come here with a divine purpose, traveling on a stream of cosmic dust from the stars into our mother's wombs, born into this precious life. It is no accident that you are here, my love, on earth, in this moment, in this body. You are here longing to find your place, to align with your purpose, to embody your passions and to live into the dreams of your heart. Yet so often we get caught, suspended in the tangle of life, not able to move forward, not able to find solace and comfort in a world that has forgotten the truth of our existence. As we begin to remember, as we peel back the layers, as we come together to uncover our unique gifts and reconnect with our authentic selves, we are able to see another way of being, a new possibility, a different life waiting to be lived. I have experienced on this complicated and wild journey of life that when we connect with the story of our soul, it will show us the magic of this life that we have been missing. It will open a window into the very heart of who we truly are, of who we came here to be, and gives us answers to our ever-asking why. Hello, my loves, beautiful souls here on this journey together. Thank you, thank you. It's so good to be with you. And I have a really, really beautiful episode today. We talk a lot in metaphor, and I have always found that spirit talks in metaphor. It is language that really connects us to the unseen world, this ability to move through story and visualization, and a way to take it out of the very literal way that we live our life and bring it more into these subtle realms, into the mystery, into this divinely crafted way of understanding how we are connected in these deeper ways. So today, Buffy is here with us, and she has moved through a lot of different iterations of her work over the years and is wondering about what the next phase will look like. And she's been feeling the shadow sort of following her around for a while. Not a bad shadow, but just something that is really like telling her that there's something deeper, there's something more for her. And so as we wander through this beautiful metaphor about building a house and giving a new adventure to Buffy's inner child, what we look at is the higher you go on your spiritual journey, the more light you bring into your being, the deeper you are required to go into your shadow, into the darkness, into the dense places. It just cannot work without each other. We live in a world of polarity and duality, and we have to bring both to our experience as humans. It's just the way that our world works. We look at how to bring back the parts of your childhood that you hid in order to survive so that they're not informing your adult decisions. And you can build your dreams from your joy and hope rather than from the pain of this younger person that still lives inside you. And in this, right, we talk about how unpacking the past also allows good memories to come forward. It's not always about the darkness. It's not always about the bad things that happen to us. When memories are caught, when consciousness is broken, we're also suppressing the good, the wonderful, the amazing things that happened in our childhood because they're interlocked into these missing spaces, into these blank spaces inside of us. So as you're listening to this conversation, really feel into where are those places in yourself that you are blocking, that you hid parts of yourself, parts of your amazingness that are caught and really, really want your attention. They really want to come forward. They want to be part of who you are becoming. Enjoy. I love you. Hi, Buffy. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I think today I would love some clarity about where I'm headed next with my life's work and this seeming kind of, I don't want to say roadblock, but right now a better word isn't coming to me, but roadblock in having the financial success that I would like with the livelihood that I have. So I'm sort of on, I guess we could say, the third iteration of my livelihood, of my practice, specifically as a Feldenkrais practitioner. In the early days, my focus was really on working with pregnant women, both as volunteering as a doula and working through pregnancy with Feldenkrais and then working with young babies. And then there was a point in time where that didn't really make sense for me anymore. It was a point when in my life it became a reality with my partner that we weren't going to have children. And that was really heartbreaking for me. And so I needed to pivot. And in particular, because every session was heartbreaking. So I pivoted to working with clients with chronic pain. And I loved it. A big part of what has felt like my work for a very long time is just doing my part in ending suffering. And I love that work, but it was work that sort of arose out of needing to shift and heartbreak. It didn't quite feel like a soul's calling. And then a little over a year ago, there was sort of this movement towards wanting to really honor maybe what was being asked of me at a soul level. And all of that was sort of within this feeling of growing like the shadow or darkness behind me, right? So this feeling of something else, it wasn't a scary shadow or darkness, didn't have that, but it definitely had a weight. Maybe it was a bit of an unknown or just moving into something that I couldn't see yet. And the shadow feels a little bit lighter today, but maybe it feels like I'm standing in it. And so there's been these iterations and this sort of look at what's next. But through all of that, I feel like I have brought my passion to my work, my whole self to my work, but haven't really known the financial success that I would like, even at the most basic level of just being able to have the full lifestyle that I would like. Like sometimes I feel like I haven't fully stepped into like adulting. And it feels like part of that shadow maybe is intertwined a little bit with the money stuff. And I know the money stuff isn't really the money, but there's something there. So I know that's a lot. Does that help paint a picture?
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful, like there's images coming in as you're speaking and just information. And so what I see, right, as you were talking about these different iterations of what you've been doing, the image is a scaffolding. So you've been building something as you've been going. And even though to you, it might not feel as if it is exactly what your soul was designed to do, I see it as you're building, right? You're the scaffolding and the building is coming together, but you're still in the process of creating it. And everything you have been doing has been part of this process of building. And you're coming, like when I see you in that image, you're like approaching the roof, let's say, as if we have a building and you've built the foundation, you've built all the rooms and the walls and the windows, and now you're on the roof. And as I even say that, there's this deciding in you of, are you going to build an attic or are you just going to build a roof? And so, like, how much deeper, how much more do you want to put into that before you're kind of reaching the apex, right? Before you're actually putting the shingles and the chimney on. The other part of that image, or sort of an adjacent image, is you are going underground and you're kind of have a miner's hat on with the light on the front and you've got this shovel and you're digging down underground, kind of like this energy of a mole. that lives underground and is diving deeper for something. So, really cool imagery where you're reaching the top, but there's also this need in you to still go down, and really understanding from a soul perspective that the deeper we go, the higher we can go. So, as I share that with you, what reflections do you have on that? How does that land for you?
A few things. When you went to the underground, all I could think of was, oh, yeah, like a tree, right? The whole letting the roots sink deep down into the earth to be able to really grow tall. And for me, it does have that feeling of going in and down, and also with that sort of growing and expanding up. And the moment you mentioned, are you going to have an attic or a roof? I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to have an attic. That's going to be my movement place. So it brought in a lot of images of sort of an open space where light's coming in. And it does feel like I've been laying a foundation and building the scaffolding. And I look forward to that open movement space. But then my mind goes to, and where is the door or the window not open? Like, is there a door in there that's stuck? Is there something that isn't allowing the flow through the house? I'm not sure exactly what the question is there, but I feel like I'm avoiding saying the word blocked, but it is maybe feeling blocked. Like, what is that compulsion to maybe keep adding on to the house rather than settling into the house?
Yeah. So as you're talking, there's an image of you as a little girl, and you have this cape on and a hood, and you have a lantern, and you're looking like there's this door that goes down under the house. And there's an older figure with you, like a grandpa kind of energy. And you're crouching down and you're looking under the house for something. You're looking for part of yourself that got lost when you were a little girl. And this part of you went into hiding, kind of in the cold and the damp and the dark of the cellar under the house. So to me, it feels like there's an event in your childhood or a timeline in your childhood where you kind of like pulled yourself into different pieces, and part of you continued on growing up, and part of you went over here to hide. And this compulsion to keep adding on to the house comes from the separation within inside yourself. And like, you can't be complete and you can't feel at home in this house until you recover this part of you.
Hmm.
So, what do you know about that?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely some truth in that. When you were talking about the looking under the house or the basement, I had this flash to when I was a child. I grew up in the Midwest, so most houses had basements or storm shelters because tornadoes. And so we had a basement. And I just had this image of not being down there during a storm, although certainly that happened, but of doing laundry. My parents got divorced at a pretty young age. And so, really, really early on, I had to learn how to do laundry. I was raised by my father. And so, there was like a step stool to be able to reach the buttons on the washing machine. And there was a quality of dampness in that basement, and especially around the washer and dryer. And for some reason, like that moment in time is really coming up. I went through this phase where like I wouldn't wear any clothing that touched the floor because that feeling of dark moisture and dampness really didn't settle well with me. And I feel like that was also the same time when there was some of that fragmenting that you're referring to, and sort of tucking parts of self away to stay safe, maybe, or even have the illusion of wholeness. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And these parts of us, when we're so young, they can get confused. And we put in sort of these safeguards, right? As we're growing, as we're navigating life. And if we don't have somebody that's really able to help us wade through those places, we find out that as we become adults, that part of us still needs tending to. That part of us needs you to go in there and parent her. Not any discredit to your dad or to your parents, but it's hard as a single parent, right? And they don't always get to give us the nurturing that we need. And we get to do that as adults and bring that part of us back online, right? And because she is still, whatever she believes, right, about the darkness, whatever she believes about relationships and how life operates, that's still playing out in your unconscious today.
Yeah. And so, how do we find her? Is she hiding in a room in the house? I feel like I would certainly like to parent her, but it also feels like she's hiding a little bit or a lot.
Yeah, like she feels like she's in the cellar to me,
Mm.
right? In that dark, damp place that maybe even you as an adult are not fully connected to the fact that you're avoiding it.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And what I experience, right, is in the turning towards these parts and pulling them closer, tending to them, listening to them, really harvesting the wisdom. That little girl is so wise. And yet, so often we want to close the cellar door and just pretend that she's not there, that you're grown up and you should know better and you've dealt with a lot of this already. And just let's charge forward. Let's keep building. Let's do the attic next. And meanwhile, she's the one who's orchestrating, right? She's doing the design. And you're frantically trying to build a design that is built on her pain and her hurt rather than your joy and your dreams.
Mm. The moment you said that, I had a little bit of like, oh no, but does that mean I have to rebuild the house? Like, do I need a different house of joy, or can still all the infrastructure built on her wounds contain that, I guess, contain the joy and the wounds at the same time? I imagine so.
Yeah, and the way I see it, right? Like as you say that, like, yes, everything you have crafted and created has been part of your soul journey. It's been part of your karma. It's been part of the life lessons you came here to learn. You wouldn't have been able to fulfill your soul's agenda without her in the cellar doing this process with you. It all counts. And what I think the next iteration for you is like, I see you like the house has been the story, the house has been the container. And obviously, we're inside of a metaphor. But I see you like just turning away, grabbing her out of the cellar, closing the door, putting up a for sale sign, like, we're done. And we're
Mm.
going to take all the goodness that we've created, but this story that we've lived inside of for so long, we've just outgrown. And it's not someone else can finish this project. We're moving on, right? And before the call, we were talking about land. There's this pull to you to find that land, to settle, right? Because there's this instinctual part of you that knows that this house you've been building isn't correct for you any longer. The tools you used, the skills you gained, the people you've served, all very, very vitally important. But the structure of the house doesn't hold significance for you anymore.
Mm. Yeah. I'm oddly delighted by the potential of selling an incomplete home.
Yeah, I see you walking away with her. You're not even taking a lot. Like she's got a little suitcase, which I'm interpreting as kind of some of her wounding that she would love for you to unpack with her. But you have nothing. Like you're not carrying a bag. I see your wisdom as encompassed inside you, right? It's not a bag that you need to take with you, it's the core of your being. So you're traveling light in the sense of like baggage.
I like that. Yeah, that feels good. It feels like it has an element of kind of open for exploration to it. Just seeing where the road takes us kind of feel.
Yeah, just the way I see it is it's like there's the big open expanses all around you, and the house is just there. Like it's almost like you've been so focused on the house that you didn't notice that when you looked around that you weren't even in a neighborhood. You were just like randomly building this house in the middle of this giant expanse of space that's all yours to explore.
Hmm. Nice.
Where would you like to go from here?
I kind of have two thoughts coming to mind at the same time. There's a part of me that's like, oh, it'd be kind of interesting to peek inside that suitcase. And then there's also the question of not peeking inside the suitcase, but just sort of orienting to the horizon and feeling into which is the next direction to go, right? Like, which direction do we want to start to step into?
And are you asking that like to me or just rhetorically reflecting?
A little bit of both, I think. I guess what feels like the stronger question is like the next direction to go, the next step to take. The suitcase doesn't feel quite as important. So, yeah, I guess looking at how to discern which direction to take the next step, right? In this vast, open, giant space, which direction to go. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple things. The first thing is right when you said about peeking in the suitcase, and I know you're asking about forward moving, but it feels important to share that when you do look in that suitcase with her, the image is you and her sitting on the floor and you open the suitcase. And the suitcase is one of those like old suitcases. It's leather and it's hard. And when you open it, right, it just opens like in half, like two hard shell halves. And I see you and her sitting on the floor. You're snuggling her and you open that suitcase all the way open. You're like, we're not going to peek in here. We don't need to be afraid of this. We're just opening this suitcase and we're going to look through it together. I've got you. So that, and then as we feel into this next step, like where are you going? There is a strong pull to unpacking that suitcase. It's like the block, right? The word you didn't want to really use. I see it as like a block, like one of those building blocks, like the concrete building blocks is inside that suitcase.
Oh,
and
that sounds heavy.
yeah, but it's the kind that I don't even know. I don't know much about building, but I remember when we were kids, they would just be kind of randomly in the neighborhood where they had the holes in them. They're gray and they have holes, like big holes in them. So although they're big, they're not that giant and heavy because half the brick is actually a hole. So not to feel so like weighed down by that, that it's actually a very loving act and it feels very freeing for you. There's like this relationship with this little girl and her development that when you sit down and you explore this suitcase and this block with her, that there's inspiration that is waiting to be harvested when you look at that. And so the path forward is no longer just you with her in the cellar and these parts of you going separate ways. The new path is you joining together and walking side by side, including her, bringing her suitcase, unpacking it with her. And this is like, I see it forming the path out in front of you. So it's like what you're intended to do is connected in with the exploration of this younger part of you. There's like new growth coming through, and I feel into that. So obviously, it's a choice to look and be with her. You're going to go on a path regardless, right? But there's like this newness, this lightness, this spring in your step as the inspiration comes through your new relationship with her. Like it's like a seed of possibility that's there waiting for you.
Mm. That feels nice.
Mm-hmm. It feels important for you to pause. Like there's a reason you're on this call with me, right? A divine appointment. It's a reason it's today. There's a reason that these images came forward for you, that she is here saying, hey, I need you, because you're at this pivotal point of how is your soul unfurling out into your future? And this is part of what you came here to nurture, to explore, to investigate. And it feels worthwhile for you to pause and spend some time here with her before you charge forward.
Yeah. And as you were talking about the suitcase, it also had this image of it not necessarily just carrying all the wounds and the baggage, but there also being some toys and some fun, tender memories, some light. So I think I guess, a little bit sort of like the dark, right? That blend of excited in a fun way to explore the suitcase with her, and also am feeling into the fact that there will undoubtedly be some tears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you picked up on that because there are toys in the suitcase. The block had my attention, yet there are definitely toys in there. She likes stuffies. She's got a few of them in there.
Mm,
Well, does this feel like an okay place to land today?
it does. It does. I'm looking forward to spending some time with the little Buffy and the little girl and the suitcase.
Yeah, feels like a very worthy endeavor for you.
Yeah.
And maybe put that sale sign outside the house.
Yeah. Without the roof on it. That sounds wonderful. Like,
Yeah, you're on a new path. Yeah. Well, thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.